Position previews. Orange and blue today. Cecil, Lammey, Andrew Mason. Interior offensive line. And perhaps, Mace, a much more interesting conversation than some would think.
Yeah, the dirty work is done by these guys, no doubt about it. But historically, over the last nearly 2 decades, Sean Payton has shown that he values this particular position group more than almost any coach in the NFL in terms of draft capital and cap resources devoted to it. And we've seen 2 big contracts since Sean Payton came to the Broncos, given to players in this position group, of course. One of his first big free agent signings was Ben Powers at one of the guard spots in 2023. And then, of course, a huge contract last year to Quinn Meinerz in 2024, and he became a first-team All-Pro, so certainly that contractual love was justified. But I think the most interesting situation here at the interior offensive line as the Broncos go into 2025 season was the guy pictured in the slide that you saw. Of course, not Bo Nix. You saw Bo Nix, but the guy snapping the ball to Bo Nix, and that's Luke Wattenberg, who had a pretty promising first season as a starter last year, replacing Lloyd Cushenberry. But to show how quickly things go, we're already talking about Luke Wattenberg being in a contract year.
Yes, and it takes time at the center position. I know when we talk to fans, either in public or on social networking, there's not necessarily Luke Wattenberg hate, but there's certainly people that have concern about him. And I think you and I always caution, like, hey, Lloyd Cushenberry didn't look good and really good until his final year, and then you couldn't afford him. Now, it might be different with Wattenberg and the salary cap situation and all that. But again, second year entering as a starter at the center position, I'm looking forward to seeing Luke Wattenberg grow, and then the Broncos pay him to keep him around. It's going to take more time.
It's going to take more time, but certainly this is somebody who came along last year in a big way. Last year, by the way, Cease, Luke Wattenberg, number 2 in the NFL among interior offensive linemen in pass block win rate, according to ESPN Analytics.
Nice.
In his first year as a starter. I mean, that's pretty dadgum promising. Now, one of the things that I think really helped Luke Wattenberg be ready for that is those first couple of years when he was just marinating and developing. He was always watching and paying attention to Lloyd Cushenberry. Now, Cushenberry, of course, if you all recall, he got thrown into the fire, had to start right away as a rookie, 3rd-round pick, working with Drew Lock as the quarterback, then a young quarterback his first year as a starter. And it was pretty rough at times going out there right away. Now, of course, not as optimal a situation as we see, of course, with the Broncos right now with Sean Payton running things, no doubt. It was trial by fire for Cushenberry, and that first year certainly didn't go well for the Broncos in a lot of ways, but steadily got better. And then certainly by that 4th year with Sean Payton coming in, with Zach Strief coming in as offensive line coach after the failed Butch-Berry experiment of 2022, really unlocked a lot of things with Cushenberry. I think if things had been different in terms of cap space, dead money with Russell Wilson, Lloyd Cushenberry might still be here as the center, but you could probably say, Cease, that maybe the biggest thing that the Broncos did in terms of letting a player go that they had to say goodbye to, that they liked because of the Russell Wilson dead money, that was probably Lloyd Cushenberry.
Right. So that was the sting from that deal amongst other stings, but perhaps the largest one. But we have to realize what Wattenberg has done, as you mentioned, with his advanced data. What does the coaching staff think of him?
Let's start with Sean Payton. I asked Sean Payton during minicamp about Luke Wattenberg's first season and what he's hoping to see from him in his second year as a starter. Here's Sean Payton talking about Luke Wattenberg.
he did a really good job coming in year one. I think you're going to see an ascension. And he's exceptionally smart. I like his frame. He loves football. So I think that first year, full-time starting, is going to benefit him greatly.
Okay, an ascension is what Coach Payton's predicting.
Okay, so at least in pass block win rate, where do you go from number 2? But I think also you're hoping for better in run blocking. Like last year, of course, you saw Luke Wattenberg for most of the year, but you also saw Alex Forsythe come in. And it was interesting. Luke Wattenberg was the superior pass protector. Alex Forsythe was the better run blocker.
Right.
I mean, if you could have put the two of them together, I mean, you might have had an all-pro center right there. But it doesn't necessarily work that way. Now, that being said, in today's NFL, if you had a superior run blocker and a superior pass protector and said, okay, which one of these, if you had the choice, would you go with? You'd probably choose the pass protector in the NFL of 2025. Maybe in the NFL of 1985, you would have chosen the run blocker. But keeping the quarterback upright's kind of everything in this day and age. So you're probably going to go with the guy who's the superior one.
I agree there, but would Bo Nix change the calculus? Because he gets rid of the ball so quickly, much like Peyton Manning would make his offensive line, and we all love those guys. Most of them are our friends.
Yeah.
But Peyton Manning also was the ultimate deodorant. If somebody missed their block or wasn't as good in a certain area, you didn't really notice.
Yeah, but at the same time, you were number 1 in run block win rate anyway, with Luke Wattenberg playing most of the games last year. So maybe you were looking at a situation where, yeah, Luke Wattenberg is better in pass pro than run blocking, but was he that much of a detriment? Well, all we know about Luke Wattenberg in terms of the analytics, we know he is a better pass protector, but in terms of the ESPN analytics, he just wasn't in the top 20 of run block win rate among interior offensive linemen. So we just know he's better in pass pro. So I'll take the guy. I'll take where Wattenberg is. And I think the Broncos, with their own analytics, they start Luke Wattenberg. Like, they've looked at these two. And remember, last year they had the center competition, much like they had the quarterback competition. They were rotating. Remember, they had Sam Mustipher as well.
Yep.
They were doing a 3-man rotation for a while, and Wattenberg ended up winning. So that was, they diced through that. They came to the decision that Wattenberg was the best of the 3. Let's actually hear from Joe Lombardi, offensive coordinator. Sorry. I was for some reason thinking of Mike Lombardi, the brief Broncos executive, now the former GM, now with North Carolina with Bill Belichick. We'll talk about Joe Lombardi talking about Luke Wattenberg in that first season. I asked him a very similar question as to the one I asked Sean Payton. Here's Joe Lombardi talking about Luke Wattenberg, what he's hoping for this year and what he did last year.
Yeah, I think just like we talked with the quarterback, just having been through it for a full season, he's a good communicator to start with and really smart, but having a year as a starter, just coming in, I think everyone will be a lot more comfortable. Things will go smoother, and hopefully we can just build on last year and continue to be a dominant O-line.
Now, building on last year, another thing, of course, is him and Bo Nix growing together. Now,
rookie center, basically, and rookie quarterback.
Yeah. Sometimes that can be a prescription for disaster, young center and young quarterback. In 2020, for example, Lloyd Cushenberry and Drew Lock together, that was a source of some problems. We've seen, for example, when you've had a young center with a veteran quarterback, how the veteran quarterback has helped the young center. Let's go back to 2015, a decade ago, when Matt Paradis went from the practice squad to starting at center, working with Peyton Manning. Certainly, Manning very much helped Matt Paradis along. And that really launched Matt Paradis to a very good career before injuries unfortunately forced him out of the league really before his time. It looked like he was on his way to having a very good career before unfortunately he was forced out of the game. So usually the equation is, okay, get a veteran center with a young quarterback or a veteran quarterback with a young center. Even go back like with young quarterback, veteran center. Do you remember when Tom Nalen, his career ended and the Broncos brought in Casey Wigman?
Mm-hmm.
When Jay Cutler was about second, third year after Nalen was done. And Casey Wigman kind of helped Jay Cutler along when he was still developing. And Wigman had a very nice season here in Denver. So that's sort of the conventional thought, the school, the school of thought, conventional wisdom, etc. So Wattenberg and Nix together, that was an interesting roll of the dice that paid off handsomely. Why did it pay off? Well, certainly Bo Nix's maturity helped. Luke Wattenberg marinating for 2 years helped. I think a big part of it that helped as well was being flanked by 2 experienced guards as strong as Ben Powers and Quinn Meinerz.
Yeah, especially Meinerz on the right side.
Yeah.
And we'll get to Powers eventually because there's a contract situation coming up there
Yes.
that not a lot of people talk about. I always say and love quoting Batman 89, think about the future, Eckhart. Well, think about the future at left guard. It might be Alex Forsyth. It might not be Ben Powers. It might be somebody else that we're not talking about. And hell, it might just be Ben Powers. But either way, you sign the big deals, McGlinchey and then Powers, but then McGlinchey reworks his deal, gets some extra time.
Yes.
Powers is sitting there and ready for a new contract.
Well, let's sort of talk about why it gets interesting with Ben Powers, because of course Alex Forsyth is there going into year 3. I mean, again, it happens so fast. I mean, it seems like yesterday we were talking about Luke Wattenberg being drafted, and he's in his 4th season. He's in his contract year. Alex Forsyth was a part of Sean Payton's first draft class. Now it's year 3 for him. And of course, the guy who was on the practice squad last year, Nick Gargiulo, he's in the mix too. I mean, they've taken interior offensive linemen in 3 straight late rounds. Wattenberg, 5th round, 22. Forsyth, 7th round, 23. Gargiulo, 7th round, 24. So you have these guys. And then not a draft pick, but a high priority undrafted player who I imagine they're going to try to keep around in some way. And he may stick on the 53 is Clay Webb as well. He's undrafted, but he had a draftable grade as well. And that's a name you should know in terms of the calculus of how you're thinking about the depth there. Ben Powers' contract, to kind of go over the specifics here. In 2026, if the Broncos were to cut him or trade him, it would be $9.775 million of dead money, $8.65 million of cap savings. So it's still more dead money than cap savings, but as you can see, the numbers are actually pretty close to each other. And that's with a pre-June 1 designation. If the Broncos did a post-June 1 designation on Ben Powers and spread the hit out over 2 years, they would save $13 million of cap space in 2026. And then they'd have dead money hits of $5.425 million in 26 and $2.175 million in the following year. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on as well, that they could have some significant cap savings. And we talk about other contract situations. I mean, none of these things happen in a vacuum, Cease.
No.
Because you have contracts expiring for Zach Allen and for Nick Benito and for John Franklin Myers and for Malcolm Roach. and Luke Wattenberg. I mean, difficult choices start happening.
Today's episode of Orange and Blue Today is presented by Ramos Law, the official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos. Ramos Law was founded by Dr. Joseph Ramos, an attorney and ER doctor, to provide exceptional care to those injured in accidents. With a unique understanding of both medicine and law, the Ramos Law team is built to fight for you every step of the way. Experience the Ramos Law difference. Contact them today at ramoslaw.com.
You can only do but so much. I mean, certainly the Walton Penner largesse allows you to do a great many things, and it allows you to get all the guaranteed money possible, because putting cash in escrow is not a problem for this ownership group. But there's only so much you can do with the salary cap. And this is where also having George Paton and Sean Payton together really helps, because I think George Paton keeps Sean Payton sensible and reasonable a bit, and maybe will prevent some of the things that we've seen in New Orleans, where things are so out of control and remain out of control to this day, that they are in this perpetual annual bind that they can't seem to shake themselves out of. I think you don't want to be like the Saints, basically. And that does mean you may have to make some choices here. But if you are drafting and developing properly, that means you have reinforcements to be able to make those choices. And if you are developing interior offensive linemen, that means you may be able to make the type of move that means moving on, but not having a drop off in quality. But there may be a tough choice coming here in the next 12 to 24 months on the interior offensive line, because you value continuity, no doubt, but at the same time, you've got these other contracts coming into play. And could you find somebody among these young offensive linemen who could be a Ben Powers equivalent? Because he's been good, but could Alex Forsyth be as good if you plugged him in with another year of development? That's a fair question.
Yeah.
Because Alex Forsyth, as we saw at center last year when he played, and run blocking especially, can be an absolute mauler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Had some impressive traits there.
Yeah. And have him. And of course, we're 17 minutes in. We haven't really talked about Quinn Meinerz, because he's an all-pro.
He's an all-pro. He's so good. That's the thing. Quinn is at this point where you just, he's there. He's beyond sturdy. He's just dominant. You sit back and just watch him pancake people. I mean, really, is there any question on Quinn Meinerz? I think the question for him is, okay, kind of build on him growing as a leader. Like if he talked a little bit about this at the end of the season last year, kind of the burden of leadership is something that he admitted that was difficult for him last year, because he was made the team captain and he understood the responsibility that went with it. And he kind of struggled the first couple of games last year, remember?
Oh, yeah.
And then he settled in and was just absolutely dominant and was very deserving of that all-pro nod that he received. So I'm interested to see in this year as a leader, assuming he's a team captain for a second straight year, how he handles it coming back, how he settles into that role, because it seemed like the first year he kind of had to adjust to it, and then he got comfortable. Well, now I think he's very comfortable in his own shoes in that role. That's the interesting thing for Quinn Meinerz. As a player, just simply going out there and playing guard, you don't really worry about that because he's just so daggum good.
Yep. And with the confidence and that they found Quinn Meinerz, perhaps one of these young players develops not in a similar manner, but gives you confidence, you know what you're looking for. And with the offensive line coaching and Zach Streif there, like, okay, you know what you're going to tell these guys. Think of the emergence of Quinn from Butch Berry not coaching him. We don't need to go into specifics. to now all pro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For Quinn to have the desire to learn and have a coach that essentially refused to coach him, and then to be here today as an all pro, I think it signals just how great Quinn is.
It might have happened a year sooner if he hadn't had that 22 season. Or if he'd had Mike Munchak. I mean, look, when they had the transition from Vic Fangio to Nathaniel Hackett, I think, I worked someplace else, but I said, hey, the first thing Nathaniel Hackett should do is bring back Mike Munchak. Would have made all the sense in the world.
Former head coach.
Have an experienced set of hands in there, knows what he's doing.
Yep.
Someone a resource, just someone to ask, hey, what do you think? You've been through this. You've probably forgotten more than I've experienced. But one of many, many mistakes Nathaniel Hackett made was not retaining Mike Munchak. For crying out loud, Munchak, he wanted to be in Denver. Like, he had a grandkid in Denver. Everything just fit so perfectly. You could say probably in a lot of ways that was Nathaniel Hackett's first big mistake, was not retaining Mike Munchak.
Yep.
That was the thread. The thread that was pulled right away was letting Mike Munchak go and bringing in Butch Berry. And it went so poorly with Butch Berry that one of the two first things that Jerry Rosberg did was tell Butch, see you later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
didn't want him around. Could not have him around for one more day.
Oh, Jerry Bear, we miss you.
Oh, Jerry Rosberg.
We
man.
miss you. Miss those press conferences.
Oh, those 13 days of Jerry Rosberg. Oh, wow.
You could write a book about those 13 days.
I feel like I should put a Jerry Rosberg press conference snippet up every now and again. I just like to do that just for fun.
Throw it out there, right?
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The wisdom of Jerry Rosberg. I'll never forget him.
People will remember Eric Studesville as interim head coach. They need to remember Jerry Bear as well.
Yes, I will never forget Jerry Bear.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what I always say is he knew he had 2 weeks of that spotlight, and he was going to get every drop out of it. Just take everything. Like, I've got, sort of to quote Adam Sandler in The Wedding Singer, well, I have the microphone and you don't.
Well, we're appreciative to have our microphones and our audience here on YouTube. It is Orange and Blue today. Mace, before we're done, how could folks help us out?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you
never miss a vid.
That's right. He's Andrew Mason. Follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT's BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty?